bitch. What?
Does he look like a bitch? No! Then why you try to fuck him like a bitch? Say hello to my little friend.
Pulp Fiction, a film by Quentin Tarantino, is made of 3 separate vignettes. Its title relates to sensationalist pulps of the 20th century, which are also sensationalist short stories. Pulp Fiction occupies an unusual place in the canonical gangster genre, especially when compared to other films like The Godfather or Scarface. Quentin Tarantino chose to construct his film in a way that Roger Ebert describes as trying to rub the noses of the zombie writers who take screenwriting classes and teach them the formulas for hit films. Jules, Vincent, the Wolf, and Butch share common traits with the protagonists of these other films, also known as the 3 parts of the gangster code: professionalism, respect, and in particular, loyalty. Each character is tested on these rules and each meets a different ending depending on their choices. With a generous amount of black comedy interspersed within as well, Pulp Fiction is a ridiculous and near nihilistic take on the more stereotypical gangster movies of the past.
The Wolf. His purpose in the film is to provide the viewer with 2 totally different perspectives on the gangster genre.
You're Jimmy, right? This is your house?
Sure is.
I'm with the Wolf. Solve problems.
Good, we got one.
So I heard. May I come in?
Yeah, please do.
I don't know what to do.
Here, we see a similar character, Don Corleone from The Godfather, berating Johnny Fontaine for failing to live up to the omerta, or the code of manliness. Both are examples of arch professionalism that constitutes one of the 3 pillars of gangster morality. We see here that the traditional gangsters are in positions of respect and authority. This is backed up by Phoebe Poon when she says that the power comes from a man who commands respect, not only of those who ask him favors, but also of those who work for him. Evidently, from the way Jules and Vincent act, professionalism, loyalty, and respect are more nebulous terms, and the Wolf is the one who commands respect in their work relationships, much to Vincent's chagrin. They need the Wolf's help to organize themselves and gain much respect for him as he demonstrates his abilities. The Wolf has the gift of authority and leadership. He orders Vincent, Jules, and Quentin Tarantino himself around in an attempt to hide the blood-spattered car that Vincent's ineptitude created.
Wipe down the upholstery. Now, when it comes to upholstery, you don't need to be spick and span. You don't need to eat off it. Just give it a good once-over. What you need to take care of are the really messy parts. The pools of blood that are collected.
It's freaky, but it happens.
Jules and Vincent seem to constantly be at odds with each other. Jules plays the professional and Vincent the opposite. The dichotomy between these 2 characters is a major theme of the movie, and one The Godfather shares as well. There are many paths one can take, and not every one leads in the right direction.
Look, I'm telling Marcellus today. I'm through.
Well, why don't you tell him at the same time why?
Don't worry, I will.
Yeah, and I bet you $10,000 he laughs his ass off.
I don't give a damn if he does.
Marvin, what do you make of all this?
Man, I don't even have an opinion.
Well, you gotta have an opinion. I mean, do you think that God came down from heaven and stopped him?
Oh, what the fuck's happening? Oh,
man.
shit, man.
Oh, man, I shot Marvin in the face.
Why the fuck you do that?
Jimmy, lead the way. Boys, get to work.
Please would be nice.
Vincent's insistence that a please would be nice is an exaggerated example of the difference in character between himself, Jules, and Butch. Even so, he shows that he knows about respect, which is one of the 3 pillars that Jules, the Wolf, and the Corleones adhere to, even if he himself doesn't necessarily follow them.
If my help's not appreciated, lots of luck, gentlemen.
No, Mr. Wolf. It ain't like that. Your help is definitely appreciated.
Mr. Wolf, listen. I don't mean disrespect, okay? I respect you. I just don't like people barking.
Jules and Vincent both have respect for Marcellus Wallace, their gang boss, but Butch has none at all. Butch also kills his boxing opponent after refusing to throw the match, enraging Marcellus. He tries to tie up loose ends by running over Marcellus while escaping from the city. Jules and Vincent perform their jobs without hiccups, at least in this case. Though Butch doesn't show respect for Marcellus, he does show loyalty to his predecessors by fighting to get his gold watch back. Vincent's loyalty is tested when, in an all-too-common scenario, he has to take care of his boss's wife Mia. Ironically, he only passes his test when Mia accidentally overdoses on his drugs.
So, you go out there, you're gonna say goodnight, I've had a very lovely evening. Walk out the door, get in the car, go home, jerk off.
In The Godfather, loyalty is equally as important, but taken more seriously.
Don't ever take sides with anyone against the family again. Ever.
Well, that's what I've been sitting here contemplating.
Jules shows his loyalty by refusing to surrender his mysterious briefcase that Marcellus tasks him with keeping.
And basically, I'm just gonna walk the earth.
What you mean, walk the earth?
You know.
In The Godfather, Mike shows his loyalty to the family by killing the opposing gang boss, a corrupt police officer that attempted to kill Don Corleone. This moral conduct, as Rousseau says, has to constantly answer to the demands of the dominating values such as gang loyalty or the logic of economic transaction.
So I thought the idea in the case of Pulp Fiction that would be kind of cool is to take three separate stories and make them be the oldest stories in the book, whether it be Vincent's character, the hoodlum, has to go out with the boss's lady, but don't touch her. And there's a whole history of people who have touched her, what happens. Well, we've seen that before, a zillion times. All right, in the case of the Bruce Willis story, that's the boxer's supposed to throw the fight, and he doesn't, and now the mob's after him. We've seen that story a million times before. And one of the things I thought about, like the third story, was basically kind of the beginning of it at the time of almost every Joel Silver movie, which would start off with like a couple of hitmen showing up, boom, boom. All right, you want to witness something? Witness this.
The characters' choices are often played out in ridiculous, larger-than-life scenarios that you would never see in other films in the genre. The film's black humor starts to really show when Butch's respect and loyalty are tested when he has the choice to save Marcellus from a rather unsavory demise.
Guess that means you, big boy.
He makes the right decision and is spared from the unfortunate fate that befalls Vincent because of his lack of professionalism. Jules' retribution involves him giving up the gangster life and wiping his hands clean before he is killed as well. The character arc of these gangsters is one of the most important facets of the genre, and each one ends differently. Like in The Godfather Part 3, or in Part 1, or even in Scarface. Some characters, like Jules and Don Corleone, die or will die at peace, while others, like Vincent, Michael, and Tony Montana, die unfulfilled.
Pulp Fiction is unlike any other gangster film that you can see. Despite these ridiculous circumstances, Pulp Fiction shares many similarities with its peers. Ultimately, it is a collection of stories about choosing between being a professional, loyal, respectful family member, or working for one's own interests. If anything, it's definitely an outrageous yet poignant take on the normally stoic, gray-tinted world of the gangster film.
With them all night long, all day long, all right, after they've killed the guy, what happens to the rest of their day? And so it was the idea of taking these chestnuts and putting them together and then actually having the characters kind of intertwine, and it all kind of takes place in one city, and it's an environment that they all live in, and the characters kind of know each other, but you don't know that for a while, and it was just kind of hanging out with them for those 2 days.